I never imagined my life would unravel in a single night. One moment, I was sitting across from him, my husband, laughing over dinner like we were the happiest couple on earth. The next, I found a secret so devastating it crushed everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and my own strength. It wasn't just any secret. It was the kind that haunts you forever. I had always believed that Jake loved me. 5 years of marriage, countless memories, dreams we shared, plans we made. But that night, when I stumbled upon his phone left unlocked on the kitchen counter, everything changed. A message popped up, a single sentence that made my world stop. "Can't wait to see you tonight, baby," from a name I had never seen before. My heart hammered. I stared at the screen, the words blurring as tears welled up. How long had this been going on? How many nights had he lied to me, smiled at me while his mind was somewhere else? I wanted to scream, to run away, to disappear. But instead, I sat frozen, the cold silence of our home wrapping around me like a suffocating blanket. That was the night I realized the man I loved was a stranger. And it wasn't just betrayal, it was the slow, painful death of everything I thought was true. She was the woman who stole my life, the secret I was never supposed to find. For 5 years, Jake and I had what everyone called the perfect marriage. Or at least, that's what I believed. From the outside, we looked like the ideal couple, smiling at every gathering, finishing each other's sentences, and sharing dreams about our future. Our friends envied us. Our families admired us. And for a long time, I felt like I had found my forever. But looking back now, I see how carefully I chose to ignore the small cracks that slowly appeared beneath the surface. The late nights, he said, were for work, but never explained fully. The secretive glances at his phone. The way his smile sometimes felt forced. My name is Aisha, and I thought I had everything figured out. I'm a graphic designer by profession, creative and passionate, always seeing beauty in the smallest details. Jake was an ambitious businessman, sharp and confident, with a charm that could win over anyone in a room. We met at a conference 5 years ago. Sparks flew immediately, and before I knew it, we were inseparable. At first, our love felt like a fairy tale. We traveled together, laughed together, and shared our dreams of a family and a happy life. Jake would often tell me, "Aisha, you're my anchor. Without you, I'm lost." Hearing those words, I believed I had found my soulmate. Our mornings were simple, but filled with warmth. I'd brew fresh coffee while Jake read the news. We'd exchange quiet smiles and soft touches before rushing off to our busy days. Evenings were our sanctuary dinners together, sharing stories, planning the future. I loved those moments more than anything. But beneath the surface of those perfect days, something began to change. Jake became distant. He started coming home late, his explanations vague and hurried. When I asked, he'd say, "It's just work stress, Aisha. Don't worry." And I believed him. I wanted to believe him. Our conversations grew shorter, the warmth between us slowly fading. I tried to hold on, to understand what was happening, but the harder I tried, the more he slipped away. And then there was Sarah. I met her briefly once, a woman who worked at Jake's office. She was friendly, polite, nothing suspicious. But somewhere deep inside, I felt a chill when I heard her name. A feeling I couldn't shake. Our friends noticed the change too. They'd ask, "Is everything okay between you two?" I'd smile and nod, not wanting to admit the growing fear in my heart. I told myself it was just a rough patch. Every marriage has them, right? I focused on my work, my art, trying to keep the pieces of my life together, while Jake's world seemed to drift further away. But no amount of hope could prepare me for what I would discover that night, a secret that would shatter the life I had built and force me to face the hardest truth. The man I loved was falling out of love with me, and the woman he loved instead was someone I never saw coming. It started like any other evening. Jake had told me he'd be late at work again, another important meeting he couldn't miss. I tried not to let it bother me. I was used to these nights, the empty apartment, the silence that grew heavier with each passing hour. But that night, something felt different. I was restless, pacing in the living room, my mind racing with a million questions I didn't want to admit aloud. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was a message from a number I didn't recognize. I frowned and opened it. "Are you coming tonight? Can't wait to see you." My breath caught. Who was this? I stared at the screen, heart pounding in my chest. The message wasn't from Jake, but it was sent at the exact time he said he was stuck in a meeting. A cold wave of dread washed over me. I knew I shouldn't look further, but I couldn't stop myself. That's when Jake's phone lit up on the kitchen counter, buzzing with another message. "Miss you already, babe." I felt like the ground beneath me was cracking open. My hands trembled as I picked up the phone. The screen was unlocked, almost inviting me to see what I wasn't meant to find. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to turn away, to pretend I hadn't seen the messages. But another part, the part desperate for truth, slid my finger across the screen. I opened the messaging app and scrolled through a flood of texts. Tender words, inside jokes, plans for secret meetings. The warmth in his messages to her cut through me like a knife. Who was she, and how long had this been going on behind my back? My mind spiraled. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe she was just a colleague. Maybe it was nothing. But the messages told a different story. Then came a new message. "I can't wait to be with you forever." My vision blurred. I sank into a chair, the phone slipping from my hands. How could he say that? Was I nothing to him? That night, the house felt like a prison. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the betrayal burning in my chest. I wanted to scream. I wanted to confront him immediately. But fear held me back, fear of what I'd find, fear of losing everything. For days, I watched him closely, searching for signs, hoping for answers. But Jake was careful now, guarded. His smiles no longer reached his eyes. One evening, unable to bear the silence, I decided to follow him. I needed to see the truth with my own eyes, even if it broke me completely. I parked a few blocks away from the restaurant where he had arranged to meet someone. My heart pounded as I watched him walk inside. Then I saw her. She wasn't just a colleague. She was more than a friend, more than a secret. They greeted each other with a familiarity that made my blood run cold. I froze. In that moment, everything I thought I knew about my life shattered. After that night, everything inside me was a storm I couldn't calm. The images of Jake and her haunted my mind, their laughter, their touches, the way he looked at her like she was his whole world. But in the quiet moments, doubt crept in. Maybe I was seeing things. Maybe my fears were just paranoia. I kept replaying every conversation, every look, searching for proof that I was wrong. "I must be imagining this," I whispered to myself one morning, staring at the ceiling, trying to believe it was all a terrible mistake. But deep down, my heart shattered a little more every second. I wanted to confront him. I wanted answers. But what if I was wrong? What if I broke something that could still be saved? One evening, Jake came home later than usual. I waited in the living room, my hands clenched tightly on the sofa's edge. When he finally stepped inside, his eyes met mine, and I felt a mix of love and pain crash through me. "Jake, can we talk?" I asked, my voice trembling. He hesitated, then nodded, sitting beside me. I searched his face, desperate for honesty. "Is there someone else?" The words escaped before I could stop them. He looked away, silent for a long moment. My heart pounded. Was this the confirmation I feared? "Aisha, it's complicated," he finally said, voice low. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this." "Complicated?" I echoed, tears stinging my eyes. "How long, Jake? How could you lie to me?" He reached out, but I pulled back. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I never wanted to hurt you." But sorry wasn't enough. That night, I lay awake, torn between love and betrayal. My mind screamed for closure, but my heart clung to hope. "I don't want to lose him," I admitted in a shaky voice. But how do I trust again? Days passed in a blur. I watched him closely, analyzing every word, every gesture. Was he truly remorseful, or was this another lie? Friends tried to comfort me, but their words felt hollow. "Maybe give him a chance," they said. But how could I? When every message, every secret meeting was a knife in my back. One night, alone in the dark, I whispered to the silence, "Why him? Why us?" The pain was unbearable. The love I held onto was slipping through my fingers like sand. I wanted to scream, to run, to break free, but I was trapped between the life I knew and the nightmare unfolding. And I had a choice to make: confront the truth fully, or keep living in denial. I thought I had seen the worst that night at the restaurant, the secret messages, Jake's silence. But sometimes the truth hides deeper, waiting to explode when you least expect it. The day after I followed him, my mind was a whirlwind of anger, heartbreak, and confusion. I couldn't eat, sleep, or think straight. Yet, a small voice inside told me I needed to know more. I needed to see the full picture before I made any decisions. So, I made a choice to follow him again. That afternoon, I left work early and parked a safe distance from his office building. I watched as he stepped into the lobby, greeted by Sarah, the woman I had only known from whispered suspicions and a name on a phone screen. But what happened next was something I never expected. Jake and Sarah didn't just say hello and go their separate ways. They walked into an elevator together, disappearing from my view. I followed discreetly, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. Inside, Jake pulled out a small box, a ring box. My breath caught. He opened it, revealing a delicate diamond ring that sparkled under the elevator lights. Sarah's eyes widened, tears brimming as she nodded. My world shattered all over again. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning a life, a future without me. For the first time, the reality hit me harder than words ever could. Jake wasn't just betraying me, he was erasing me. I stumbled back, desperate to keep my balance. How could the man I loved be so cold, so cruel? And then, just when I thought I'd witnessed the final blow, I noticed something else. A document Jake was holding, folded and clearly important. Curiosity and desperation took over. I had to know. That night, after Jake left for the office, I searched his study. There, hidden among files, I found the proof of another secret. Jake had been transferring shares of our company to Sarah's name, cutting me out of the business I had helped him build. Betrayal layered on betrayal. I collapsed onto the floor, tears streaming freely. The man I trusted was dismantling my life piece by piece, and the woman I never even saw coming was standing at the center of it all. This wasn't just about love. It was about power, control, and crushing everything I held dear. I realized then I had a choice. I could fall apart, broken by their lies. Or I could fight back. I couldn't hold it inside any longer. The secrets, the lies, the betrayals, they all boiled over into a storm I was ready to unleash. That evening, I waited for Jake to come home. The moment the door clicked open, I was there, standing in the hallway with every ounce of courage I could muster. "Jake," I said, voice steady but sharp. "We need to talk now." He looked tired, maybe even guilty. But there was also a flicker of something else, defiance? Fear? I couldn't tell. I held up the papers. I had found the proof of his betrayal. The company shares transferred. The ring box hidden in his office. Everything. "Is this true?" I asked, my eyes searching his. He sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. "Aisha, it's complicated. I never wanted it to come to this." "Complicated?" I repeated, my voice cracking. "You destroyed us. You lied to me every day. And for what? Her?" Jake looked away, unable or unwilling to meet my gaze. I could feel my heart breaking in pieces. Then came the moment I never expected. Sarah walked in. Her eyes met mine, cold, unapologetic, unashamed. "I'm sorry you had to find out like this," she said softly. "But this is the life Jake wants now." I stared at her, searching for guilt, regret, anything. But all I saw was triumph. "That woman, she was my best friend," I whispered, disbelief and fury mixing in my chest. "How could you do this to me?" Sarah smiled faintly. "Love changes people, and sometimes it reveals who we really are." Jake finally spoke, voice heavy with regret. "Aisha, I never meant to hurt you, but I've made my choice." I took a step back, the weight of their betrayal crashing down on me. But in that moment of darkest despair, something inside me shifted. I wasn't just the woman they thought I was. I was stronger, smarter. I wasn't going to be their victim. As they stood there, waiting for me to crumble, I looked them both in the eye and said, "You've made your choices. Now it's my turn." After that confrontation, everything changed. Jake and Sarah thought I'd break that. I'd fall apart like a shattered vase left in the dust. But I surprised them. Most of all, I surprised myself. In the days that followed, I made a decision. I wasn't going to be a victim of their betrayal. I was going to take control of my story on my terms. First, I hired a lawyer. Quietly, carefully, I began to untangle the web Jake had woven around the company and my life. The shares he'd transferred? Reversed. The contracts he'd signed without my knowledge? Voided. It wasn't easy. Every meeting felt like stepping into a battlefield. But every small victory was a spark of hope, a step toward reclaiming what was mine. Then, I did something no one expected. I bought out the company. Yes, the very business Jake tried to cut me out of, I took it over. I wasn't just buying a company. I was buying my freedom, my dignity, my future. The day I signed the final papers, I felt a surge of power unlike anything I'd ever known. Jake's face flashed in my mind. Disbelief, regret, maybe even fear. For the first time, I wasn't the one left behind. Meanwhile, Sarah tried to reach out, but I blocked her everywhere. She was a ghost now, a reminder of a past I refused to live in. Friends and family rallied around me, amazed at how I turned pain into strength. But it wasn't easy to let go. Some nights, loneliness crept in. The memories of love, laughter, and promises lost were ghosts that wouldn't vanish overnight. "I trusted you," I whispered to the empty room. How did it come to this? But I also realized something else. Sometimes, the people we love the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. And sometimes, the darkest betrayals force us to find the brightest parts of ourselves. Months passed. I rebuilt not only my company, but also my life. I found joy in small things, again morning coffees, late night walks, new friendships. One day, as I stood in my office overlooking the city, a message popped up on my phone. It was from Jake. "Can we talk?" I smiled bitterly and deleted it. Some doors, once closed, should never be reopened. I was done living in the shadow of betrayal. I was ready for whatever came next, stronger, wiser, and fiercely independent. Because sometimes, the greatest love story is the one you write for yourself.